Let's start off by talking about the admissions committee itself. Now, I'll just go over a little bit of the logistics of how it worked while I was there. Obviously, things change every year, so this might not be exactly how it goes, but there's a lot of different areas of your application that go into what actually decides you going into the medical school. So, for instance, you have your GPA and your MCAT, and that basically gets your application in the door, and it will factor into the calculation at the end. But mostly, that's just the price of getting into the club is having a good MCAT and a good GPA. So make sure that those are foundationally sound. After that, you'll turn in your application just like they've been harping at you for this entire workshop. And basically, that will get you to your secondary application. Now, I'm not sure if they're doing this again this year or not, but part of the secondary application while I was there was doing a video interview and some quick writing prompts where you'd have a limited amount of time to write something related to the prompt they gave you. You know, they might say, name a time when you felt that you grew the most while going through your undergraduate career, or a time where you faced conflict, just like those typical interview questions, and you'll just have a certain amount to write about it. So then you do that little interview thing, and if they like it, then you get to the interview day itself. And interview day itself might include some one-on-one interviews, definitely some multiple mini interviews, as well as whatever experimental thing Dr. Chan cooks up for this year. So then, after all of that is said and done, all of these different things, your primary application, your secondary application, your GPA, your MCAT, your responses to the multiple mini interview questions, and what the interviewers thought of you on that day will get compiled together, and the admissions committee gets together in a group of 15 to 20 people, and one of those people on the committee will have been assigned your application. Their job, and this was what my main job was on the committee, is to read through everything, to be the absolute expert on who you are. So there's going to be one person on that committee who's kind of going to be your advocate. And I say kind of because they might not necessarily like your application, and you have no control over who actually gets assigned your case, as it were. And so then that person, they present all of the facts. They say the things they like, the things they don't like. They basically sum up everything in about 5 minutes. After that, they take another 5 minutes just for everybody to read through, and different parts of the committee will be assigned different sections of the application. Like some might be personal statement, some might be, multiple mini interviews, some might be experiences. And then after that 5 minutes, there's, an alarm goes off in another 5 minutes, and everybody quickly discusses. And after they discuss, then the committee votes. And the vote isn't the final tally of whether you get in or not. There's also other things that factor in, like GPA, MCAT score, and everything's kind of algorithmed together, all of these scores that you're given. And then at the end, a certain percentage of people are automatically accepted, a certain amount are put on the bubble that may or may not get accepted, and then probably the majority, well, I shouldn't say the majority, but a good amount of people that are just outright rejected from the process. All of that being said, the admissions committee is smarter than you. They have seen every trick. They have seen every, weird thing that every applicant has ever tried to do to pull the wool over on them and get into medical school. It's not going to work. It's far too competitive, and they know what they are doing. But they have a heart. They're not just robots that eat medical school applicants for breakfast, although you might think that. For instance, let me just give you an example. There was one applicant who gave full disclosure up front and said, I have severe dyslexia, and it is difficult for me to write and to read things quickly. It takes me a long time. And going through his application, it was beautifully written. His personal statement was one of the best that I have read. It was so clear, it was so concise and detailed in the right ways, and you could tell he had put a lot of time into making that as good as possible and having a lot of people edit it, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But when you went to his quick written essay from the secondary application, where you only had about 5 minutes to write a 2-paragraph essay on some prompt, his dyslexia was very clear. He could, hardly form a sentence, and you just felt like, oh man, this is pretty difficult. But the committee, they all rallied around this applicant. They said anyone who can overcome such a large impairment, anyone who can put together such a beautiful personal statement despite these challenges that they face, we want that person in our medical school. And I believe that person was voted through very handily. I'd have to check back to be sure, because obviously it's not just the vote that counts. But that's what they're going for. They can see when somebody puts the real effort in.